Hello students, this is a presentation that covers part one of the research paper on Ta-Nehisi Coates' The Case for Reparations. As a reminder, the goals for part one of the research paper are as follows. You should find two credible sources on Coates' essay. I would highly suggest that you email me the sources so that I can make sure that they are appropriate for the research project. You want to demonstrate your ability to summarize the main idea and supporting details of your sources, and you're going to want to explain what you learned about Coates' essay from doing research on his essay. So the tasks to complete these goals are to find and read two appropriate sources, summarize the two sources accurately using MLA in-text citation, and explain what you learned about those two sources. As a reminder, in college, you will be asked to summarize quite often. You will be asked to do this for several reasons, but for the most part, professors and courses want you to learn how to summarize material for three main reasons. Summaries benefit the reader because they offer a concise, general version of the original information, a condensed, smaller piece of writing that explains what is important and why it is important. Summaries also show readers that you have understood the general point of a text, and this way teachers can evaluate your knowledge of subject material. And finally, summaries allow you to quickly and concisely introduce new knowledge into larger research projects. Some other reminders. Many students tend to want to quote when they should summarize. Quote only when the author expresses a point in a particularly telling or interesting language. Otherwise, you should summarize. Use a summary to restate the entire argument. Use a summary to present information. Use your own language. Don't quote or simply copy sentences in the summary. This is very important. Quotation and summary should be done in different sections of a research project or paper. So keep your summaries all together with summaries. Keep your quotes and analysis with a quotes and analysis section. You don't ever want to mix the two in one section of a paper. So as you complete your summaries and as you work on the first part of the research paper, remember that no writing can happen before reading. Read the original passage or text very carefully. So read both of your sources very carefully, using pencils to highlight and underline what you feel are the main ideas of the piece that you're reading. You could write in the margins to note a main idea from an example. Be able that when you are summarizing the essay that you are reading, make sure that you can understand the reader's argument, the writer's argument. What is this writer saying about Coates' essay? And only after you have fully understood the main ideas and how they relate to the supporting details are you fully able to begin writing about the research that you have found. It's always important to remember that reading must come before writing. So, after you have read and fully understood the main idea and the supporting details of the essays that you found, now you can begin the process of writing. As you start to write, there are a few things you need to remember. One, you're going to want to use your own language. Remember, the process of summarizing is being able to take what you have read and put it into your own words. Do not include your interpretation or analysis within the summary. You need to always make a clear distinction in every research paper that you do between your thoughts and someone else's. When you are summarizing, I only want to see you present to me the information that you have read. Make sure that you use the author's name as a tag to always introduce and signal that you are writing about someone else's information. Use the author's name a lot. Oftentimes students don't realize that in a summary, you should use the writer's name more than you think. Right? There are some examples below. Smith argues that population growth and environmental degradation are causally related, page 13. Note how the author here uses the author of the piece's name to signal that this idea is Smith's. Brown notes that education in the U.S. has undergone major revolutions in the past 20 years. Brown notes, signaling that this idea about U.S. education belongs to Brown. You want to use the author's name as a signal word in your summaries to always make sure that you are clarifying for your reader that this is an idea you are paraphrasing from someone else. Ideas don't come out of nothing. Ideas are attached to people who write about them. So use the author's name. Finally, use the present tense, often called the historical present tense, to summarize an author's argument. You don't need to use the past tense version ed when writing about something someone has written. You can always use the historical present tense. So the example would be here, Green, the author, contends that the Republican and Democratic parties are funded by the same major corporations. This verb here, contends, is what we mean by the historical present tense. Again, the historical present tense, Green contends that the Republican, Green discusses Smith's points. All of these are the use of present tense when summarizing. Next, remember that you should summarize only the main ideas and supporting details of the essays that you have read. Always start with what you think the most important idea that the author had. So as you're reading these essays that are responding to Ta-Nehisi Coates' essay, you want to figure out what is their major response to it. What is the main idea that they are using when they're having a conversation with Coates? Are they supporting his essay? Are they critiquing his essay? Are they saying that it's awesome? Are they saying that it's wrong? These would be the main idea that they are using in responding to Coates' essay. Next, you want to focus in on a supporting detail. How does the author then use details to support their main idea? Remember that our broad distinction is main ideas you can look at are the author's opinions. The supporting details will be things like quotes, statistical evidence, quotes from experts, histories, personal stories. Anything that is not the author's opinion will be used to support and prove that opinion. So you want in your summary, remember the main thing that you are focusing on are ideas and how the supporting details support those ideas. How the details and examples and evidence go to support the author's opinion. And you're going to want to show how those relate. As you read full essays, don't summarize in order. Your task is not to summarize everything. You can't do that. Your task is to summarize important ideas and how those ideas are supported. Never in a summary will you be asked to summarize every single point an author brings up. All right? Summary, remember, is to condense, to shrink down the essential information and then present it in your own words. So, some reminders. Right? Don't forget that your sources will be responding to Coates' essay. So one of the ways that you're going to want to signal this is to foreground the author's source. X responds to Coates' ideas of blank. X comments on Coates' ideas of blank. X discusses Coates' ideas. When discussing Coates' idea of blank, X mentions, analyzes, critiques, refutes. All right? You always want to make sure that you're using that author's name and show how that author is responding to Ta-Nehisi Coates' essay. Now, if you have found an interview to use as one of your sources, make sure that you use the signal words to frame that these two people are having a discussion. All right. When X asks Coates to explain blank, Coates discussed. All right. Remember, in an interview, if you are analyzing an interview as a piece of evidence, Coates is not coming up with these responses out of the blue. Someone, the interviewer, is asking him a question, and you need to make sure you foreground that in your summary so that your reader knows that Coates is responding directly to something that he is asked. So the structure. In part 1 of your research paper, you are asked to give 2 summary paragraphs. All right? These summary paragraphs should contain, all right, the following pieces. So as you're looking at your draft, as you're writing your summary paragraphs, make sure that your summary paragraphs have this material in there. 1, the topic sentence. All right? The topic sentence of each summary paragraph should state the name of the author, the type of source that you are using. Is it a written response to Coates? Is it an interview? Is it a video essay? What is the type of source? And then finally, state the thesis of the piece. What is that author's main idea in responding to Coates? Is the author agreeing with them? Is he disagreeing with him? Is he adding his voice to support Coates' idea? Or is he saying that it is something that we shouldn't support? What is the main idea? What is the goal of the author in responding to Coates? That should be the topic sentence. Next, you should have a piece of the essay respond to one of the author's central ideas. If the goal of the text is to show that Coates is correct, what idea, what opinion does the author have that says why Coates is correct or incorrect? Finally, you should explain an example. What is a supporting detail that the author uses to prove his point? All right. Is he using a quote from Coates that he's breaking down? Is he using a different set of historical facts? Is he telling a different story? If Coates uses the story of Clyde Ross, is he using a different story? Is he citing different historical examples? And then finally, explain to me how the piece of supporting details, the example, helps to prove the author's idea. So these are the 4 steps that you have to do to complete each summary paragraph. Now, this is a key reminder. 1, 2, 3, 4 does not equal 4 sentences. Right? In order to complete the summary paragraph, a lot of these might require more than 1 sentence. All right? Your summary paragraphs will most likely be longer than 4 sentences. It is very hard to do this material in only 4 sentences. So you have 4 major tasks in each summary paragraph that will require more than 4 sentences. So your tasks are state the author's name, type of material you are using, and what is the goal. State an idea, state a piece of evidence, and then explain how that evidence is used to support the author's opinion. If you can look at your summary paragraphs and see that you are doing 1, 2, 3, and 4, then you are on the right track. All right? So use this structure as the list of things you need to do to have an accurate summary of the research that you have done for this project. Next up, all right, after you have provided a summary of both of your sources, the last part of part 1 is where you tell me what you have learned from doing your research. This is the last section of part 1 of the research paper. This should be the last paragraph of part 1 of the research paper. In this paragraph, I would like you to explain to me how you found your sources. Where did you go to discover the sources that you used in this project? Next, explain in your own words, your own thoughts and opinions of at least one of the ideas presented in your sources. All right. So you are not summarizing in part 2 of this paragraph. You are telling me what you learned from these ideas that you have read. And then finally, How did this research help you understand something about Coates' essay? What did you learn about Coates' essay, The Case for Reparations, from doing this research project, from doing the research? Finally, this is just an example of the template. You may find the template on Blackboard. Remember that you should use this template to complete the paper. I want you to put the information that you have found, your writing, into this template following this order. All right? Write the title of source 1, write or copy and paste your summary, title of your second source, summary. Keep this title the same. Do not change the evaluating source's title, and then write or copy your evaluation, what you have learned from the research paragraph. So remember, follow the template that you can find on Blackboard. It is there to help you complete the essay. We will continue our discussion of the research paper by looking at parts 2 and 3 in future video lessons.